Joe! Joe on Joe is the only podcast where Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It is me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and we are back this week for another episode of Draw with Joe. Now, if you're seeing the video, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why is he staring at the cover? Why are we all staring at the cover of G.I. Joe, the official How to Draw G.I. Joe issue number 2, instead of issue number 1? And if you're not seeing this right now, if you're just listening audioly, I urge you to head on over to our YouTube channel and check it out. We've been putting these videos up for about the last month or so, having a lot of fun with it. And the full videos can be found there. The audio, I'm going to do my best to keep it entertaining as we go along. Talking about the characters we're drawing and things like that, all things G.I. Joe. But, you know, ultimately, this little segment of the show is best experienced visually. And if you have watched it visually and you absolutely hate it, please send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com or shoot me a note on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Joe and Joe Pod, and let me know what you think. Say hi. Appreciate hearing from every one of you. You can also check out our Patreon page. We host the video over there as well. Patreon.com/Joe and Joe Pod. While you're online, please give us a rate and review and all the various podcast things. You guys know the deal. And most definitely give our wonderful sponsors, the Movies in a Mill podcast, give them a shout. They're fantastic. They got a great show. They're always talking about the latest movies. I didn't go to the theaters this weekend. There wasn't much that I wanted to see. That new scary movie, it's got a dude with a bag on his head. It was like limited release out here in California, I think. That looked scary, but I just wasn't in the mood for it. Next week, though, it's got that Watchers movie comes out. I really want to see that. But we, still really for the amazingness that was Furiosa. I really dug it. And certainly, I know our friends at Movies in a Mill podcast are going to be talking about those films. So, so why are we on to G.I. Joe number 2 this week? When last week I said I was going to do a big one, because I got to be honest with you. I sat down to record this and I realized there is absolutely no way I would be able to get anything resembling any kind of competent drawing done of a full body Major Blood or full body Duke, or even more importantly, a full bodied Major Blood fighting Duke in like half hour that I'm trying to get these done in. There's absolutely no way. Just it's not even worth trying. So what? What I think I'm going to do is, for this main feed, just call a mulligan and do headshots and work through these books with the headshots and stuff. And I'm going to try to make some time, and we'll do the full body stuff maybe over on Instagram or on our Patreon page. It's because they'll be longer. It'll be a little more relaxed, a little more casual, a little less, presentery, because this is the main podcast feed and so on. But yeah, that was it, guys. I got to admit, I sat down to do this and I looked and I went, there is absolutely no way. So we're going to do something else that's very difficult that I've been trying to do well. First of all, this is my pencil for this week. Where is it? There we go. There we go. Yeah. For you kids watching at home, that's a bad word, but it is the Die Hard slogan. Bruce Willis's John McClane slogan. I can't remember where I got these. I'm sure it was from my friends in Chicago. I really don't remember who made these, but they're great. And I found this Die Hard pencil in my bag of kits. So that's what we're drawing with today. What was I going to say? So we're going to do, the thing that's difficult for me is, you guessed it, I'm drawing a girl today. Man, I am that classic comic book neophyte drawer, artist, whatever you want to call it. I am that classic dude that just, I've never drawn women well. All my women have always looked way, way masculine, or, to be fair, or they look just like, and I don't mean this in a complimentary way, a John Buscema woman, because John Buscema did it was John Buscema, right? Who did the official How to Draw Marvel comics the Marvel way. Like, I could either draw that, I could either draw like the Marvel way, or that's it. Otherwise, my women look fairly masculine. It's not a good look. So we're going to do Cover Girls up first today. We Zartan isn't here, so we will get to Zartan, but Cover Girls up first. So official How to Draw #2, great cover. I like, these are perfect covers. They lay it out. There's not much to, there's not much to say. I like the color, the purple and the yellow. Those are two colors that pop together. I don't know if I noticed this on the previous one. They give you a little bit of their bio up front. Primary military specialty, high fashion model decided to enlist in means of finding new direction for her life, things like that. That's fun. And written and compiled by Dennis Francis, and artwork copyright Hasbro. So we open again with the some more kind of basic instructions, talking about how to do body stuff here. I guess I should move this over. Talk about basic instructions on bodies, how to draw a swimsuit, things like that. Head begins as an oval, body measured in head heights, 7.5 heads tall. So if your head's that big, then your body needs to be 6.5 more of those, things like that. And they recommend using like this graph kind of paper to start with, so you get the kind of get a feel for the dimensions and the the ratios and things like that. I don't have that, so of course we're not doing that. So we're just doing it by Aaron. And then you get Courtney here, Courtney in a bikini, and they're saying that female figure in this case, she's 6.5 heads tall, so it's like a full head shorter, and that's no shade. It's just typically saying that usually women are drawn shorter, unless you're making a statement that you're drawing like a really tall woman. Practice drawing each pose in stick figure form first is the easiest way to establish a strong foundation, things like that. So, forget instructions. We're just going to jump right into Cover Girl. Let me make sure I try to position this as much as possible. So that's our final goal here. There we go. That's our final goal. So we're going to start, again, we're using our handy dandy Spider-Man. So this one's got a nice little target down the middle. Sorry, my Mary Jane's having a little, speaking of Spider-Man, Mary Jane's having a little coughing fit over there. Okay, we'll target down the middle. Let's draw an oval to describe Cover Girls. I like the use of the word describe there, because you're describing it. You're describing the visual. You're using a pencil to visually describe her head. Adding 2 lines below to indicate the neck. Divide. It's funny. It says divide his head. I bet you they cut and pasted this from the previous one. Divide her head with vertical and horizontal lines to place the center line and the eye line. Add a straight line for the shoulders across a point 1/4 of the. So what's interesting is I think they're saying, actually, now that I'm really reading this, they're saying do the oval first, then find your eye line, so that you don't have to make the oval match the eye line, right? So you do a little center line just to give you a place of balance. Then you do your oval to give you the size of the head. So let's do that. And again, there are, things you can do like this, like, to give you good, circuit, if you really need to do it. There's stencils, there's a dog barking, there's all kinds of things. Hey, Shirley Feeney, what's up? There's all kinds of things you can use, to get your, but this is, since we're doing this, something like this is just your guiding line. You can rough it out, right? Like if this was your finished one, you might want to actually rely on an actual like oval. Sorry about the dog barking. All right, I just had to have a long, serious conversation with Shirley Feeney. She's the best, though. No, really, what I do is I lean out. I give her an old hey, cut it out, but I don't say cut it out, but I give her like kind of a stern cut it out, and I wait for her to just kind of stop barking on her own. That's the method. That's the strict training method that happens in the Slepsky household. Let the dog bark as long as they want. Be loud enough so it sounds like you're in command, and then realize you've trained no dogs and they run the house. That's what's happening here. So, hey, so we're doing Courtney. All right, so her neck would be there. And then they've got her like shoulder, like her shoulder line. It's on a bit of an angle here. So then, yeah, it's funny. So where I put her eye line, I think is a little too low. Is it? eyeline. Yeah, it's a little too low. So I think her actual eyeline would be more about there. See? Do you see what happens? That's what happens. You do your center line, you do your oval around it. Now you can adjust. So good job. Good job, Wolverine. Thanks for erasing that. Remember, last week we gave out a 90210 sticker. Maybe we'll give out another 90210 sticker this week. Now it says, draw on her eyes, centering each about halfway between the center line and the side of the oval. This draw on her eyes bit is, if you look at that, can you see that? That is, that's like her eyes got stitched together by some kind of serial killer. Speaking of that, man, I watched that Kurt Russell movie, Breakdown. I haven't watched Breakdown in since I saw it in the theaters, I don't know, 20 years ago. Man, that movie's good. It breaks down at the end, pun intended. Kind of a little bit more of a standard action movie, but the first half is so good and so Hitchcock. Is he crazy? Did his wife really get kidnapped? Did she run away? JT Walsh is amazing as always. And then it goes a little more standard action fare. But man, if you haven't seen Breakdown in a while, I recommend it, especially, it's going to be your nose there, especially if you're a fan of Kurt Russell, as I am, as you all should be. I think I'm on a Kurt Russell kick because I recently grabbed Escape from LA. And, I love me some John Carpenter. So, let's see. So it says the nose line falls about 2/3 of the way between the eye line and the chin, the bottom lip halfway between the nose line and the chin. The ears fit between the nose line and the bottom of the eyes. So ears fit between the bottom of the eyes and the nose line. So her ears are going to end. No, wait, that was the nose line. Bottom of the eye. So her ears are going to go right there. So we're supposed to be drawing all this. So here we go. Well, this is rough in the shape of the nose, mouth, collar, pupils, and highlights to her eyes. Draw through the neck to find a cylinder shape of the shirt collar. Yeah, it really is funny, man. These instructions are really out of whack, but we're gonna do it. Bum, 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 bum. Again, I always like to start with noses. For good or ill, I always like to start with noses. So my memories of CoverGirl are really only of the TV show. I did not have her as a youth because I didn't have the Wolverine. If you didn't have the Wolverine, you didn't have CoverGirl. That was my thing. I had Scarlet, Scarlet. I totally had Scarlet. I never had a Lady J, but I totally had Scarlet. I was shocked that I never got a Lady J because I was a big Flint guy. Well, to be fair, actually, my sister was a Flint. She really liked Flint. She was hear that, Bill Ratner. But I was a Flint dude, but I never had a Lady J. I recently got a Lady J. Not recently, sometime now as an adult, Lady J was procured. And I also finally got a CoverGirl. She was great. She was fun on the show. I like that they used her in the movies. That was cool. And it's a fun idea. I think, if memory serves, wasn't she modeled after Cindy Crawford? If I'm remembering this correctly. Didn't he give her hometown was something like Rockford, Illinois, wherever Cindy Crawford was from? Something like that. I think that's, but 82 seems too early for that, right? So maybe not. Maybe it's not Cindy Crawford. I feel like it was someone, there was some supermodel that they actually were basing her off of. But either way. Or no, she would have been 83, 84. Sorry. So what I remember from How to Draw Comics the Merville way is things like the arched eyebrows. You draw them differently. You draw them softer. You draw them a little more pizzazz. The eyes, you're basically drawing their makeup. You're drawing the mascaraed eye, and the nose should be a little softer than a gentleman's nose. and just in general, features should be softer. They should just be less, less rough, less. Lips are going to be, and full lips too. Regardless of, you can do fuller as you need to, but typically you tend to draw both top and bottom when you're doing a female, just to get that across. And we're talking comic book drawing here. Let's be very clear. We're not talking about, like if you were like rendering someone's face, in like a life study kind of a thing where, you'd get in there and you'd find all the nuances and the, and the variations, and you know what I'm saying? Like you'd find all the various ways that make anyone's face unique and more quote unquote masculine, more quote unquote feminine. But what you're really doing when you're drawing for a comic book, and I'm gonna, if anyone listening who actually does do this for a living, you're like, you're full of crap. I don't know. This has always been my take on it. And I'm talking about even with the masters. I've been reading a lot of this week. I've been reading a lot of John Byrne, West Coast Avengers. I really enjoyed that run when I was younger, and I hadn't read it in quite a long time. And I'm on the Marvel app now, so I'm reading through it, and I forgot that he left it early. And so now I got to Google that and find out what the dealio was. I'm sure it's been talked about. In fact, I think I remember reading about it, and I'm sure there was some kind of editorial brouhaha or something. But the reason I bring that up is I love John Byrne. Like, it's great. He kind of has one, it's going to sound like a negative critique, but I don't mean it this way. He kind of has like one face for almost all of his characters. Certainly his Wolverine's different than his Cyclops, but a lot of his male dudes look like the same dudes, and then they just got different hair, different what have you. Versus, I'll say this, versus someone like a George Perez, and I've talked about this on the show, who, he, that's supposed to be the top for her, supposed to, yeah. George Perez is, he was a master of getting that unique face, regardless of whatever else is going on in the picture, right? But someone like Byrne, who, I don't mean that with any shade, Byrne is fabulous. One of my absolute, he's a goat. He's one of my absolute favorites. What am I saying though? So what I'm saying is, so much of his look and his faces, they are implied. They're simplified for the page to do the job of the job. And the job here is to relay to you the information and the adventure of the story, right? It's not to do the most highly rendered perfect image of what Courtney would look like, where she give every little dimple, every little everything. Well, she does have a dimple, doesn't she? Yeah. So this is all proportions a little weird. So my point being is that you're looking for the line that represents what you want your viewer to see, not necessarily that represents the image you want to give them, not necessarily that may represent what an actual Courtney may look like. She may have, a wrinkle here or a wrinkle there, right? And this is all over the place. But I mean, like if you're drawing someone real, she might have a little wrinkle there, right? I don't know. But you don't want that, because you want her to be cleaner, because maybe she's in the same Image as a roughneck, like a gung-ho or something along those lines. So you simplify her, she looks lighter. You're giving that impression off that she's feminine, especially in like a masculine world, things like that. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the kind of gobbledygook I took a long way around to say. But what I've been realizing is reading in that digital where you can zoom in and really look at some of the form is that Byrne does that a lot. He's very whatever the term would be, that minimalistic or expressionistic. Um, in fact, I remember he used to complain about Terry Austin's inks, and that Austin put too much hatching and things like that on his stuff. And when you compare his West Coast stuff to his, say his X-Men stuff, you see that. And I liked his X-Men stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm an X-Men guy. I like, I think that it's a better synthesis. Some artists are better synthesized through, an inker. You know what I mean? And I think Byrne is one of those. Although he does a good job of inking his stuff, but I think when he has a different inker, it really adds something to it. And maybe that's what I'm saying. It adds body to his work that on left to his own devices, he may or may not do. So this is funny. So this is, I've got so many pencil lines on this. This is where you'd be like, all right, I'm just going to leave this here and let the inker kind of clean this up. Because if I try to erase too much, I just end up erasing the main lines I want. We're not going to do that. We're going to... Yeah, man, I'm not very good at drawing the female form. And I don't mean that in any way other than what I meant it. It is not one of the skills I possess. But, it's all right. Only God can judge me. Speaking of that, God judging me. No. Speaking of G.I. Joe, today, obviously the Kickstarter was last week. We talked about this, and it went crazy and did a ton of money. Yeah, I can't see unless I really dig over this. Today was the day that they put out the survey for what you want the additional cards, because I guess they're about to hit a bonus goal. So what additional cards they want. And I don't know I think it's closed by the time you'll be hearing this. But if you are in spitting distance and you hear this, and if they end up doing another survey, I really would love for us to vote for like the B-list characters, the the Crazy Legs of the world, the Cesspools of the world, I said it, Crystal Balls of the world. I really would love to see those guys get the trading card treatment, only because we have gotten, over the years, how much product have we gotten of all the regulars, the Snake Eyeses, and I love him, the Snake Eyeses, but the Roadblocks and the Storm Shadows and the Destros. Like, how about some like Andy Kubert Dodger, like what would that look like? So I voted for weirdos. I looked at that list, Big Boa, I looked at that list and I said, who's the weirdest dude on here? Like maybe a Range Viper would be cool, although they get a lot of love. But that's what I voted for. So I don't know who you voted for, but I voted for that. And I am loving seeing the reaction that's getting, all the talk online. I had people send that to me like, hey, did you see that? I'm sure you saw this. It was awesome. It's a good time to be a Joe fan, man. There was also the story that leaked that I don't know how true this is, but maybe Chris Hemsworth may be in talks to play a lead. I believe all it said was a lead in G.I. Joe, which, it's got to be Duke or Hawk, right? If assuming he's a good guy. But I'm going to say this, though. I'm putting this out there to the world. Chris Hemsworth as Zartan. Perfect. Got the accent. You can do, just make him Zartan. How amazing would that be? I think that would be the best. But I get it. If the story, I believe, said leave, so you're not going to do a whole movie about Zartan. But yeah, Chris Hemsworth as Zartan, that would be great. That would be absolutely great. And maybe that is, he's Australian, and he just did that. He did a Zartan-esque turn in Furiosa, and he was really good in it. And maybe it is Zartan, and so he won't be on set all the time. Like he'll literally they just get him for a lesser villainy role. I don't know, who knows? But yeah, Hemsworth in a Joe Transformers movie I'm in. I like him a lot. He's probably the most fun of those of the next to, it's hard to top Robert Downey Jr., but he's probably the most fun of all the other actors. Although I like Evans. Yeah, they're all great. All the Marvel actors are great, but Hemsworth is really, really talented. So, all right. I think that's it. It's not, like I said, I don't do, we're gonna give these lips one more try. I don't do Will 80s well. Condolences to Mrs. Slepsky. It has long been an absolute flaw, and there have been times when I've been like, well, I'm going to attack that. I'm going to really try to learn how to draw, a female form, whatever. And I'm spilling the tea. I'm opening my heart to you guys. I have just had nothing but problems with it. Nothing but. I don't know if this is getting any better. I think this is only getting worse. Yeah, everything's all screwed up here. We're going to go in here. We're going to get some surgery here. We're doing it. And that's what's great about using a pencil. So this should be, let's just do this free form. There we go. That's the move. The other thing, honestly, and this is not an excuse, I'm sitting way back. Right now you got me hunched over, so I can finally see the board. I've been sitting way back this whole time for all these things. I sit way back to try to stay out of the camera, and it is incredibly difficult for me to see when I'm drawing, because right now I'm trying to talk in a real low whisper. The microphone is very close to my mouth, and trying to stay out of frame. Mary Jane's having a cough. But my eyes are not good. And so me trying to draw details like an eyeball at a distance is laughable. So I feel like I just improved this image 500 times simply because I actually can see what I'm doing now. And it still ain't perfect. It still ain't even great. But it's better. All right. Well, I don't know. There she is, Courtney. Oh, we need to do her. It's weird. They give her this drawing is it's kind of a cobra. Yeah, that's her jacket, but it feels very much like a cobra neck piece thing that she's got on. Anyway, all right. So, well, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna see if next week if we can improve. But there you go. That's the first female form I've drawn, or female face I think I've drawn in probably a long time. So for that, we're gonna give that a whole group shot, 90210 group shot of all four of those dudes over there, and that's what they get this week. So that's it. That's it for Draw with Joe. And now you know how not to draw Courtney, cover girl. And Joeing is half the battle.